Okay, we're going to start in child's pose. You're going to come straight down to the floor. If you're a little bit stiff in the knees, you can try taking the block underneath your bottom between the heels, or you can have the block underneath your forehead. You can still use your hands on there, but this just changes the angles a little bit, so it makes it easier. Block higher, head higher, makes it a little easier in the spine and the lower back muscles. Block underneath the bottom makes it a little easier in the knees and the hips. So if you needed 2 blocks, you could do that as well. We'll take a couple of minutes here. Let myself move around a little bit in this version of child's pose. So it's kind of a loose version. I'm not trying to push or pull myself in any direction or stretch. I'm just letting myself find a comfy place. I'm going to lift up from there. And we'll bring the knees underneath the hips, tuck the toes underneath, and sit back onto the toes. I'm going to take the weight into the toes fully with the body, and then float the arms out to the side. I'm going to bring that right arm across and lock under, so get a little stretch into that right shoulder, just drawing it around. Breathe into the back of the shoulders if you can. And we'll float the arms out wide and cross over the opposite way. And then we release. And take that block, portrait style. Allow myself to take it down towards my feet, bring my knees together, and then feet out wide, sit back gently onto the block. So just being careful if the calf muscles and thighs are a little bit tight. Toes pointing backwards, we're going to sit up nice and tall, roll the shoulders back, lengthen out through the crown of the head. And then on an inhale, we'll take the hands up towards the sky. And exhale, bring the hands through the heart. Inhale, we'll lift. And bring them through the heart. And inhale. Strangely enough, exhale. And this time we'll take the hands up towards the sky, and leave them palms facing in above the shoulders. We'll take a little turn to the right, letting the hands come down, exhale. Inhale back to the center. And rotate across over to the opposite side, hands come down. Inhale. Exhaling around. And bring the hands back to the center. Hands to the floor. Going to lift up. Move my block out to the side. Take the knees wide, toes together. Sit back into child's pose again. Take the hands out. Up onto the fingertips. Elbows away from the ground. Longest, flattest back you can manage. And then we'll walk the fingers over towards the right side. Let the body sink into that thigh if you can. Enjoy breathing deeply into the side of your body. And then we'll lift the head up and fingers across the other side. See how that feels. We'll lift the head, come back into the center again. Lifting up onto all fours, just enough time to feet and knees out to the side so we can roll gently onto our backs. So the knees high, hands behind, chin towards chest, so we protect the spine as we come down, head to the floor. And then we'll draw the right knee towards the chest. Let that slide towards the right armpit as we lengthen out the left leg and get a nice big stretch out through the toes. You can spread the toes, flex both feet. Toes pointing towards sky. And we'll draw the left leg in. Walk over, bring the right foot to the floor, draw that left knee towards the armpit. Slide the right leg out. Toes to the sky, spread. Feet flexed, legs lengthening away. Hips and pelvis on both sides equally drawn towards the front of the mat. And then we'll bring both legs back in. We'll take a little hug here. So we'll draw chin towards chest and wrap the arms around the shins. So the tightest little ball I can manage. You might get a little roll on the spine as you breathe in and out a few times. Now I'm going to release feet to the floor close to the bottom again. And as I arrive, I'll take the right knee to the chest, take the hands interlaced around the back of the thigh and press the heel towards the sky. Straightening out. Again, the foot is flexed, the toes are spread. Check that the neck is long and you're not inadvertently craning your neck back and chin towards the back of the mat. You want your chin to point very much to the front of the mat. Now we'll let that foot come down to the floor. And then we'll cross over to the opposite side. So lengthening the legs out. And we'll let that foot come down to the floor. And keeping the heels and toes nicely together, we'll take the arms out wide. And then let the knees roll over towards the left. And try and get the bottom leg as close to the ground. So we're going to release the hips. A bit loose in the belly and the lower back spine muscles as well. So the rotation is easy to take. We try and keep forearms and elbows on the ground and the shoulders. And then we'll bring the knees back towards the center. And we'll take a little roll out to the opposite side. Come back again into the center. We'll take the hands around the back of the head, just lightly interlace the fingers, and the elbows are out to the side, and then draw the belly down and bring the chin towards your chest. So looking towards your thighs. Right, so to lift up onto your tippy toes and draw your lower belly down into the ground. You'll draw the chest towards the sky, keeping the elbows out wide, so you're barely holding on with the fingers. They're just touching around the back of the head. Take the hands forwards, past the thighs if we can. We'll slowly extend the legs up into straight legs. Spread out through the toes and squeeze the thighs gently together. Keep the lift as you bring your legs down, 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 and then holding the legs so the toes are in line with your eyes. And we'll take the legs back up. Leave the legs high, take the hands behind, back of the head, roll the spine down to the floor. Allow yourself to gently bend your knees and bring your toes so they tap onto the floor, keeping the heels away from the ground. Still squeezing the thighs together. Bring the chin towards the chest. Draw the chest up again. Take the hands forwards, stretch and lift. Lengthen the legs out, spread the toes. And then we lower, 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 and lower. We'll take the legs high, all the way up. Put the hands behind the back of the head. Roll the spine down, elbows out wide, and then those toes can come down to the floor again. This time we'll let the heels to the ground, take a little breath, and we'll roll onto our right side, use the hands to press into the floor to lift up. So coming back towards our sitting posture, we're just going to roll the heels and ankles underneath, over on top of the knees. So we come into the front of the mat on all fours, and then making sure that the toes are tucked under, the shoulders are over the wrists. We draw the belly in, we press away from the floor a little bit, and then we lift the knees gently up and back together to lift ourselves into that down dog. Now, whilst we're in our down dog position, we'll take a little breath and float the shoulders over the wrists, and then we'll lift back up again. And we'll come forwards, keeping the belly drawn in, and float back up, pressing the hands into the ground so there's no gaps. Come forwards again. We keep the bottoms are going to be about the same height as the shoulders. Lifting up. Forwards. And then we'll lift up. So from down dog, we're going to come into dolphin. We do that by bringing the elbows down to the ground, and we'll just bring the hands together, interlace the fingers, tuck the little finger in. And then we've still got the bottom up high in that down dog position, but we'll bring it into a plank. Come forwards, touch the gnocchi to the floor, lift up and press back into that down dog phase. Come forwards, touch the floor, and then back, forwards, little touch, and back. Two more. Remember to breathe. Last one. A bit of a t-shirt malfunction going on here. And then we'll bring the knees to the ground. Untuck the toes. Get back onto the heels. And draw your clothing back down. We'll take the hands to the floor, tuck the toes underneath, lift the knees away, and we'll move gently knees away from the ground. into a forward fold. We just open out the back of the legs, ribs and thighs touch. Take a couple of breaths here. Chance to press the feet into the floor and lift the hips high if you feel that you've got a little bit more to give in the back of the legs. Now, to lift out of that, we're going to sit into a chair, sit hands forwards in line with the body, and then drive out through the legs as we exhale to lift up. The hands come out wide, shake out a little bit. Come more towards the middle of the mat. I'm going to turn slightly off of the face of the wall, so if it's something more specific I can look at. I'm going to find a focus point that doesn't move, bring the toes together. I shift the weight into the left leg, take the hand onto the left hip if that feels good. Bend the right knee forwards, then bring the heel towards the bottom, take the right hand down, find the ankle, draw the knee to the floor, walk your fingers out to the toes, and then wrap the knee back down so thigh touches thigh. And try to draw the knee down to the floor. And you're going to try and push the pubic bone forwards a little bit. So the top of your pelvis moves back. You kind of get this little scooping feeling in the abdominal areas. Try and keep the shoulders, hips, all facing the same direction as your standing leg and your knee. You can take the left hand out a little further to the side for balance if you wish, not a problem. You're going to try and lengthen the spine up out of the pelvis, so you'll start to feel your shoulder change shape a little bit. As you do that, the tissue and the muscles possibly changing. And then we'll release that foot to the floor. Give that leg a shake out. Give the other leg a little shake out. Bring the feet together again. Find your point to focus on. We take the weight into the right leg. Left leg lifts. When you're ready, nice and slow. Don't need to work quickly. Generally, the slower you work, the easier it is to hold your balance. Draw the heel in towards the bottom. Take that left hand down. Find the toes. And then feed the knee down, thigh to thigh. Tilt the pelvis. Pubic bone forwards. Lengthen out of the spine. Get the finger lift out of the belly up towards the chest. And we'll release from there as well. Shake that leg out. So we're going to have a little bit of fun. Just make sure there's nothing around that you're going to trip over. And we'll bring the feet together. Now you need to focus on your drifty point and listen to the instructions carefully. They're not difficult to follow, but if you take your eyes off your focus point to look at the screen, impending doom. Take a little breath and bring the hands in towards the heart, and we'll shift the weight into that left foot, spreading the toes out nicely. And we'll bring the heel of the right foot against the left ankle and turn the toes out to the side, the move that you're used to. We'll check that the hips are pointing forwards. Take a little breath. I'm going to float the left arm out to the side and then bend at the elbow, palm facing forwards and spread out through the fingers. I'll take a little breath from here. Allow myself to slowly draw the right knee out to the side and up as high as I can. You can use that right hand for whatever balance you need. Now we're going to bring the right knee high and in towards the center and bring the left elbow down to touch without looking. And then move back and bring the foot to the floor. You can tap the toe on the ground. Draw the leg up and high, across, tap, lift it up high and out to the side, little toe tap. Third time of asking, we lift up high, tap, roll it out big and open, foot to the floor. Bring the feet together. We're going to do the other side. We'll start with hands into the heart. shift into the right foot. Turn the heel in, toes out. Check the hips are forwards. Right arm goes out to the side level with the shoulder. Little bend in the elbow, spreading out the fingers. The other hand for balance. In your own time, start to lift the left knee high as you can, and bring it across the center. Get that knee and the elbow to join. Try to bring the foot down with a little tap, having taken it out to the side. Bring the arm back. Lifting up. And across. Ooh, got tired feet today. And then we'll see if we get the last one in. Doesn't feel like it's going to happen today. Getting a little closer. There we go, and dropping it down. So it's good to spot if you've got dominance in terms of control and strength to one side to the other. And it's a great way of balancing it out. And it just mixes up and changes that tree pose into something a little bit more fluid. If your tree pose wasn't enough fun already. We'll come back up to the front of the mat. Have the feet and hips pointing forwards. Toes and feet hip distance apart. We'll take the hands towards the sky as we breathe in. Bring the hands in towards the heart. And as we exhale, we'll fold down to the floor. Come onto the fingertips to draw the chest forwards. Folding deep. And we'll take the right foot to the back of the mat. Big step. Drop the heel in for warrior two. So we bring the hands alongside the body and we lift up. The right arm comes forwards. Draws us into that warrior two. Now hold here for a couple of breaths. Allow ourselves to have some time to press into the back, outside edge of the foot, and press the foot down rather than collapsing into the heel and ankle. Spread the toes on the front foot a little bit so you're not gripping on with eagle-type talons there. And make sure your chest is nicely turned to the long side. Pubic bone moves forwards a little bit, just as we did when we were in standing pose. We're going to bring the hands towards the sky, rotate and lengthen out over that front thigh, keeping the knee where it was. Bring the hands to the floor, spin the back heel, and move gently back into our down dog. Move gently on the breath in into a plank. Come into a half plank, and then an up dog. And slowly lift the hips up, rolling over the toes or stepping over the feet into our down dog. We'll take a few breaths here, just working on drawing the belly in and the hips up and back. Pressing the heels towards the back of the mat, the hands pressed down into the floor. Not so much pushing away from the ground, but just pressing down. And then we'll draw the right knee into the chest and bring the foot through between hands into a nice lunge. We'll take the opportunity to press out through that back heel. And take a breath on the exhale. Step ourselves gently into a forward fold. Hands come onto the hips and we lift up, softening the knees a little. And then taking the hands high into the heart. Exhale, the weight shifts into the toes. It's very much a forward motion. We come up onto the fingertips. Half forward fold. Then we fold down completely. Taking the left foot back, we can drop the heel in. Check you're happy with your front knee position, front foot. Bring the hands alongside the body to lift. Our left arm goes forwards and slowly up. We move into our posture. Again, we just make those tiny little self-adjustments that we know. And we can bring the hands high again. Rotate out long and slow. Hands to the floor. Again, we step back into our down dog. We'll come forwards on the breath into plank. Half plank. To up dog. Down dog. Draw the left knee in. Bring that foot through between hands. Lunge. Strong back leg. Chest lifts. Belly drawn in. Exhale propels us forwards to the fold. Hands to the hips and we lift up. Inhale high. And hands in towards the heart. Soften the knees over the toes. Sit back into our chair. And then we'll lift. Float the arms out. High. Into the heart, into the forward fold. Fingertips for the lift. Folding again. Right foot back. Drop the heel in. Hands alongside the body, get the lift. Right arm helps lift us up. Now I'm going to take the hands directly above the shoulders and rotate the chest and hips forward, spinning on the back foot so the heel goes to the sky. On the exhale, we'll lower the rear knee towards the ground. Inhale, we'll lift up. Exhale down. And coming up. 3 more. Hands forwards to the floor. Stepping back into plank straight away. Come forwards into half plank. Up dog. Down dog. Right knee comes in. Through for the lunge. 1 breath. Step into the front of the mat. Hands to the hips and lift. Inhale high. Hands through the heart and exhale to the floor. Fingertips for the lift. Folding down. Left foot back into lunge, drop the heel in. Warrior 2. Left arm forwards and up. And then inhale the hands high. And rotate gently into the high crescent. Breath in. Exhale down. Try not to let the knee travel too far forwards. Last time coming down. Get the belly drawn in. Hands to the floor. Into plank. Half plank. Up dog. And down dog. So progressively then the chest gets closer to the ground, the hips get higher. You get more movement into the shoulders, more extension in the upper back. Continue to lift the hips high. Bring the left knee in, bring that foot through. For the lunge, 1 breath. Exhale forwards. Hands onto the hips. And we'll lift up. We inhale high, hands into the heart. Exhale down to the floor. Fingertips to the left. Fold back in. Take the right foot back and drop the heel in for warrior two to take the lift. Inhale it forwards. Cartwheel. Now this time take the hands behind the back of your head. Again, just a very light interlace of the fingers so they're just touching, elbows out wide. You're going to slowly turn the chest to hips and spin the back heel. I'm going to start to press the head into the hands. Keep the elbows wide to try and press to resist the head moving back. So the effect of that is you go absolutely nowhere, but you burn lots of energy. Remember, release, take the hands high, bring them to the floor, step it back into the plank, half plank, to up dog, down dog. And we'll draw the right knee in, bring the foot through. Nice strong lunge, hips getting lower, spine gets longer. We fold into a forward fold. Too many folds there. Inhaling up. Inhale high. Last time for fooing down to the ground. Fingertip. And in. Left foot back, dropping the heel in. Hands alongside the body. That left arm eases us up. Warrior twos. Hands behind the head. Draw the belly in a little bit. Slowly turn the body. Spin the back heel. And then gradually intensify. And you want to be able to keep the elbows out wide. And you still want to be able to breathe comfortably. So if you kind of overcook it, you start to alter your breath a lot. But at the same time, if you don't do anything, you won't feel any benefit of the release. Last breath in. Inhale the hands high, down to the floor, keep the belly in, plank, half plank, to up dog, to down dog. Page 2 already. Draw the left knee in for the last lunge. Strong back leg, feel the buttocks lift, groins lengthen out and come into the forward fold. Belly's drawn in, hands on hips, soft knees and lift. Inhale high. Hands into the heart. Make sure your feet are parallel, hip distance apart. Soften the knees over the toes again. Sit back another inch. Shift the weight to the left leg. Slide the right foot back into a high lunge. Drop the heel in as we open up into warrior two. Take a breath and extend out over the front thigh. Bring the forearm onto the front leg. Lift the body up a little higher as you take your right hand high. Turn the palm forwards. Keep the chest pointing to the long side of the mat. Let the arm take a windmill action forwards and down, inhaling to the back of the mat and up. Try to keep the head in line with where you think your spine is pointing, from your pelvis through your shoulders. So rather than dropping it down, you will feel that a little bit easier on the neck and therefore the shoulder as well, which means the windmills get a little bit easier to do, a little bit longer. Now we'll slowly come back up into our warrior two. Turn the palm on the front hand, take it into reverse warrior. Allow yourself to straighten the front leg gently, reaching out towards the back of the mat with the top hand. Sink back into your warrior two. Extend out as you start to straighten your front leg. Ease yourself down into your triangle pose, taking the top hand towards the sky. And then we'll come back into our warrior two. Float the hands high and bring them onto the inside of this front leg. The fingers along to the long side, turning the toes in. Take a little breath, hinge from the hips and make space in the tailbone back. Fold over the hips, coming down close to the floor. Lift gently back up, halfway. We're going to wiggle the heels in once, then the toes in once, then the heels in again once. Let the bottom sink down. Bring the hands gently onto the thighs. Now you want to have your heels more or less underneath your knees, so you might still need a little bit of adjustment. You can wriggle around a fraction from side to side. You want to have very little weight in the hands, and just spend a little bit of time tucking the tailbone down towards the floor, pubic bone forwards, so the spine lifts. And then we're going to lift one heel off the ground, two heels off the ground. We'll stay here and breathe. The heels down. Hinge forwards, keep the belly drawn in, hands come to the floor out in front of us, and then we walk the fingers around to the front end of the mat into an almost lunge. And step forwards gently into the forward fold. Hands onto the hips, soft knees and a lift. Inhale high. Hands into the heart. Check the feet. Parallel. Appropriate distance apart from what we want to do. Soften the knees and sit back into the chair a little more. Shift your weight into your right leg. Slide the left leg back. Drop the heel in and open up into your warrior two. Extend forwards, forearm onto the thigh. Get the lift with the body, so it's a high lift as the arm goes up. Remember head position as you start to rotate your hand forwards and down to the floor. Let the breath come into your body as your hand moves towards the back of the mat and up to the sky. Keep a little bit of weight in that back foot, so inner groins feel like they're active. There's very little weight on this forearm. Now I'm going to bring myself back into the warrior two as I inhale up. Turn the palm on the front hand for reverse warrior. Extend over. Find balance. Begin to straighten the front leg gently and slowly. It's very progressive. Takes a good wee few seconds to lengthen out. Soften the knee, come back into our warrior two. And from here, we start to lengthen forwards as we straighten the front leg for triangle pose. Roll that top shoulder round behind you. Let the bottom rib roll up towards the sky. Think about getting the rotation from the ribs and the middle of your body. Soften back into warrior two. Inhale the hands high and down to the floor on the inside of the front foot. Walk fingers around to the long side. Toes come in. We take a breath. We send the tailbone back. Draw the belly in. Forward over the thighs. And then we press the lift back up. Halfway, we zigzag. Heels in, toes in, heels in. Allow yourself to drop your bottom down. Bring the hands onto those thighs. Bring the heels underneath the knees. Adjusting the tailbone down. Lift one heel. Lift the second heel and hold. Bring the heels down. As the toes come forwards. Hands to the floor. Walk the fingers towards the front of the mat. Take a little breath. And we'll step back into plank. Let the knees come to the floor. Sit back onto the heels. Just for a moment. And we'll let the hands come forwards. We'll take some cat-cow. And then we'll come back into neutral. Tuck the toes of the feet underneath and move back into a plank. Now, in the plank, again, you want the hips to be as high as your shoulders, and you press the hands into the floor so you get as much lift from the ground as possible. And then we'll draw the right knee in and bring it back out. So we're just going to crunch that in towards the body. We're not dropping the head in, just squeezing the knee in, trying to keep the body relatively flat. And stepping it back. Swapping over from one leg to the other. Just a few more seconds. Last one. And back into down dog. Inhale to plank. Lift up, down dog. Into plank. Down dog. Plank. Down down dog, get an idea of the hips lifting you up and back rather than just pressing into the floor. Last time coming forwards. And into that down dog. We will come into plank, but we'll bring the knees to the floor directly underneath the hips. Take the right arm up towards the sky as we breathe in. We'll thread that under and through. Shoulder and ear to the center line. Press the shins to the floor, draw the belly in. Roll the top shoulder around. Hopefully you're nicely warmed up, so you should want to get a nice deep rotation. Or certainly the deepest you're going to get this evening. That's for sure. With that little bit of effort pressing the shins down. Now we'll press into the hands to lift back up. Now we'll take the lefty hand up, fold that under, down to the floor. Again, we'll just press the shins down a little bit. I'll take that top shoulder around. And press into the hands again to lift up. Let's swing the feet out to the side and allow the legs to come out. And take the trusty block. Reach it. I'll lift ourselves up. And from here, we'll bring the feet together, toes flex back a little bit. We'll sit up nice and tall. Bring the right heel in for Janu Shashana. So the knee comes down to the floor. Got a little bend in the front leg, toes flexed up. We'll lift the body up, forward over that front thigh, just making sure the hips are squared to the front of the mat as well. Think about lengthening the head and the body forwards. Just happens to move closer to the knee as we do that. And then we use the hands to lift back up. And we'll take it over to the other side. Square, turn the toes in, little bend in the knee, hands on the shins, get the height. The space in the hips is already created so that we can fold over it. And bring the hands to the floor to lift back up. Now we're going to just ease our way off of that. Come onto the floor. We're going to be closer towards the front of the mat, so I'm going to lie down. Plenty of room behind. We're going to bring the heels in about sitting bone distance apart, and then turn the heels out a little bit, toes just a fraction in. You want to, as best you can, bring your heels underneath your knees. Palms facing down with the hands into the side of the body. You wriggle your shoulders underneath. And then you draw your lower back down to the floor. So you take those natural arches out of the spine a little bit. We'll tuck the tailbone away from the floor even more, so your lower back feels more planted. And then on the exhale, we're going to start to lift the hips and draw the thighs forwards. Press down through the shoulders, the backs of the arms. We'll let the chest move towards the chin a little. Back down again to the floor. Take one more lift. Roll back down again. And draw the knees in towards the body. The hand on top of the kneecaps. And then we're going to let the knees open out to the side, keeping the big toes together. And see how far apart we can take those knees, but still keeping the big toes touching. And then we're going to see if we can slide our fingers down the shins to find the ankles and bring the soles of the feet together so the heels touch. So the feet aren't on the floor. You'll bring your heels in towards your bottom. Knees are out wide. Strong on the fingers. Draw the knees back to the center. Let the feet go to the floor. Take the arms out wide, and this time turn the soles of the feet together and see if you can get a similar feeling in terms of the breadth of stretch through the groins. Press the little toe just gently into the ground on both feet. And gently scoot the hands underneath the back of the thighs and use the hands to lift the legs back into the center. Take a moment to just take the heels out a little wider so it feels more natural through the legs. And then slide a heel gently out to each corner. Let the legs roll out and have the hands just gently a little from the side of the body facing up. And yourself to wriggle out whatever needs to be wriggled out. And then closing the eyes softly. Return to a very gentle, easy breath. Begin to stretch those fingers and toes. Let the wrists and ankles begin to move. Breathe a little deeper. Turn that into a stretch of any sort that feels good. And then finally draw the heels back along the floor. And knees come in towards the body, a leg at a time. Take a gentle, soft hug. And it feels good in your body at this time of the evening. And then finally roll onto our right side. Taking the breath in on the way down and using the exhale to lift back up. Hands to heart. Close the eyes as you begin to exhale your breath, dropping your chin, bowing to the floor. You can draw the belly into the spine. Feel your practice. Inhale, let the head build back up. Open the eyes. Namaste. Thank you very much for joining me on this Friday evening. See you on the mat again soon.